Hello, welcome to the live. Hi, Mimi. How are you? Welcome to the live. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Who's here in the chat? Drop your name. And here is Hi, Yasin. How are you? Thank you, Yasin, for joining in the live. And here is Hello, welcome to the live. Hi, Amara. How are you, Amara? Thank you, Amara, for joining in the live. And next name is, I see here is Hasnat in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining the live. And next name is, hi Hussein, how are you? Thank you so much, Hussein, for joining in the live. And here your dog name, Raven Star in. Here you go. And next name is, hi Hussein, hi. And here is, I see Dinah in the chat. Hello, Dinah, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is Xavier in the chat. Welcome to the live. Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is, okay, next name I see here is Nadaj, I think. Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is, hi Aarti. How are you, Aarti? And next name is Vibhav in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name I see, hi Madhu. How are you, Madhu? And here I see Anu in the chat. Hi Anu, how are you? And next name is Megan in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining the live. Next name is Sylvia in the chat. Hello, hello, how are you? And I see Joanne in the chat. Hi Joanne, how are you? And hi Raina, how are you? And here I see UB, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is Intan, how are you? And welcome back to the live. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Here is Ingrid in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. And here I see, hi David, how are you, David? And next name is Bruto in the chat. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the live. And next name is, here is Gurpreeti in the chat. Hi Gurpreeti, how are you? And I see here is Ali in the chat. Hello, how are you? And I see here is so in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Next name is Retief in the chat. Hello, how are you? And here is Asbella in the chat. So Asbel, thank you. Next name is Tehzeeb. Hi Tehzeeb, how are you? Thank you so much Tehzeeb for joining in the live. And here is Cecilia in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you for joining in the live. And here is, okay, Sakshi, I will write your name. Right now I don't have stuff to write your name. I will do it. And here's Hatra in the chat. Hello, Hatra, how are you? And I see Rasil in the chat. Could you drop your name in my shorts videos? Then I will write your name on my board. because I don't have stuff right now. Hello, Catherine. How are you? Thank you. And here is Lyra 2 in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much. Next name is Najib in the chat. Hi, Najib. Hello. Thank you, Najib. And here is I see Aline in the chat. And here is Isra in the chat. Hi, Isra. How are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Aline. How are you, Aline? Next name we have. Hello, Mina. How are you, Mina? Thank you for joining in the live. And next name is Sakila in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Have a great day. And here is Sohail. How are you, Sohail? And here is GWSM. And next name is Sohail. Next name is Sohail. Hi, Sohail. And next name is Tia. Next name I see here is Aryan. Hi, Aryan. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Bilal in the chat. Hi, Bilal. How are you? And here is Olivia. And next name is Hi Tanu, how are you? Tanu, thank you Tanu for joining in the live. Next name is Lena in the chat. Hi Lena. And here I see here is Fiora in the chat. Hi Fiora, how are you? And next name is next name is Anaiza. How are you, Anaiza? It's a nice name. I like your name. And next name is here is AJ in the chat. Hi AJ, and here is Ishal in the chat. Hi Ishal, how are you? And I see here is Devin in the chat. Nice name, Devin. And here is we can draw in the chat. Hello, how are you? And I see Taylor in the chat. Hi, Taylor. How are you? Thank you, Taylor, for joining in the live. And next name, we have Ira in the chat. Hello, Ira. How are you? And here is Zainab in the chat. Hi, Zainab. Next name is Manu in the chat. Hi, Manu. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in the live. Tap on the screen. Everyone, like the live, do tap on the screen. Sania in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much. Next name is Rishma in the chat. Hello, Rishma, how are you? And I see Rod in the chat. Hello, Rod. And here is Asbella in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much. And here is Marta in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Okay, next name is here is Hamza. Next name is Hamza, and next name is July. Next name is Olive. I wrote your name. Thank you so much for joining in the live. And next name is here is Bustra in the chat. Hello Bustra, how are you? And here is Rita in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Have a lovely day to you. And here is Taha. How are you, Taha? And next name, I see here we have. Hi, Jackson. How are you, Jackson? And next name is, here is Tarun. I think Tarun in the chat. And here is Teju join the live. Hi Teju, how are you? And next name I see here is Advika in the chat. Hi Advika, how are you? And here is Yukesh in the chat. Hi Yukesh, how are you? Thank you Yukesh for joining in the live. Okay, next name is Matul in the chat. Hi Matul, how are you? And I see hello Hafsa. How are you Hafsa? Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is Jibril in the chat. And next name is Hi Anush, how are you? And here I see here is Rita in the chat. Rita name is John. Next name is Hafsa. How are you, Hafsa? And next name is Aleph in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. And next name is Roa in the chat. Hello Roa, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Moni in the chat. Hi Moni, how are you? And next name is, I see Alma in the chat. Hello Alma, how are you? And here is okay, next name is Nishutu. Thank you for joining in the live. And here I see Imad in the chat. Hi Imad. And here is Claudia in the chat. Hello Claudia, how are you? And I see here is, okay, here is Atmika in the chat. Hello Atmika, how are you? And here is Sobal in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Next name is Minju in the chat. Hi Minju. And here is Gori Shivan in the chat. Hi Gori Shivan, how are you? And here is Noor in the chat. Hi Noor. Next name is Hayden. Hi Hayden, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Anna in the chat. Hi Anna. And next name is, hi Zainab, how are you Zainab? Thank you so much Zainab for joining in the live. Next name is Shania in the chat. Hello Shania, it's a nice name. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Here is Kelsey in the chat. Hello Kelsey, how are you? And here is Elora. Elora name is John. Next name is, and here is Musa name is John. And Saksham name is also done. Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is Marisa. How are you, Marisa? And here is Polish. Hello, Polish. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Have a great day to you. And here is Maruja in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Have a great day. And here is Muchi in the chat. Next name is Kaito. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Safin in the chat. Hello, Safin. And here is hi, Melly. How are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Alima in the chat. Hello, how are you? And next name is okay. Next name I see. Okay, I do not understand what you said. Could you drop your name? What's your name? Okay, here is Husam in the chat. Hello, Husam. How are you? And next name is I see here is Shija in the chat. Hi Shija, how are you? Next name is Johan in the chat. Hello. And here is Ivan. How are you, Ivan? And next name is okay. Hi Joeria. How are you, Joeria? Thank you so much. Hit the 40 likes, everyone. Hit the 40 likes. Double tap on the screen. Hi, Rihan. How are you? Thank you, Rihan, for joining the live. Next name is Serena. How are you, Serena? And here is Akila. Hi, Akila. How are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is hi Rutil, how are you? And here I see Torpa in the chat. Hello Torpa, how are you? Next name is Serena. Thank you Serena for joining in the live. Next name is Alifa in the chat. Hello, how are you? And I see here is hi Sarah. And next name is Sheila in the chat. And next name is hi Victor. How are you? Thank you Victor for joining in the live. Next name is Ima in the chat. Hello Ima. And I see here is Vivian. How are you, Vivian? Okay, here is Victor. Thank you so much. I wrote your name. Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is hi abroad. How are you? And here is Lara Raj in the chat. Hi Lara Raj. How are you? And here is Valentina. Thank you so much for joining in the live. And here is Hannah in the chat. Hi Hannah. Next name is Palu in the chat. Thank you so much, Palu, for joining in the live. Next name is Alicia. How are you, Alicia? Thank you, Alicia, for joining in the live. Next name is Joan in the chat. Hi, Joan. How are you? Hi, Hafia. How are you, Hafia? And to tea in the chat. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Lynn and Jamal in the chat. Hi, Lynn and Jamal. How are you? And here is Lucia in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. Next name is Nolin in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Melina in the chat. Hello, how are you? Next name is Hi Maria. How are you, Maria? Next name is next name is Anik. Hi Anik. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is I see here is Sarania in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. And here is Zulekha in the chat. Next name is Ayat. How are you, Ayat? And next name is I see here is Leon True in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. Thank you so much. Hi, Sonia. How are you? Hi, Sina. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Darry in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. And here is Soso. Thank you for being in the live. I wrote your name. Thank you so much. And here is Yamil in the chat. Hello, Yamil. How are you? And I see Hazara in the chat. Hello, Hazara. And here is Gabrieli in the chat. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is I see Yasra in the chat. Hello, Yasra. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Okay, next name is I see. Hello, Zara. How are you, Zara? And I see Elias in the chat. Hi, Elias. How are you? And here is Lori in the chat. Hello, Lori. How are you? Sia in the chat. Thank you so much. And here I see Omid Khan in the live. Thank you for joining in the live. Next name is Hi Gabby. How are you, Gabby? And here is Benin in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. And here is Abu. Thank you, Abu. Elsa for joining in the live. Have a great lovely day to you. Hi Robin, welcome back to the live, Robin. And here is Ishan in the chat. Hi Ishan, how are you? And next name is Romil. Thank you so much. Have a great lovely day to you. And I see Hanif in the chat. Hello Hanif. How are you? Thank you so much. Alita, how are you? Welcome to the live. And here is, I see Rama in the chat. Hello Rama, how okay, next name is Jibril. I wrote your name. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Manar in the chat. Hi Manar, how are you? And here is Hana in the chat. Hello Hana. And here is Ikram. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Next name is Alina. How are you, Alina? And I see here is Matthew in the chat. Hello Matthew, how are you? And next name is Amethyst in the chat. Welcome to the live. Thank you so much. Next name is Martina in the chat. Hello, how are you? And I see hi Aya. How are you? Hit 50 likes, everyone. Hit the 50 likes. Hello, Sindhuja. Thank you, Sindhuja, for joining in the live. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And here is Bruno in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. And here is Kiana. How are you, Kiana? And here I see next name is Bang Chan in the live. Hello, Bang Chan. How are you? And here is Gabrielle Lee. How are you, Gabrielle Lee? Thank you for joining in the live. And here is Warlin in the chat. Hello, how are you? And next name is Alisa. Thank you, Alisa, for joining in the live. And next name is Chris Mawar. Thank you, Chris Mawar. Thank you. And next name is I see Sion in the chat. Hi, Sion. And here is Jolene in the chat. Hi, Jolene. How are you? And here is Afifa Dawn in the chat. Thank you for joining in the live. Next name is Arthur in the chat. Hi, Arthur. And here is Mahendra Army in the chat. Next name is Gohi in the chat. Hello Gohi, how are you? And Ivan in the chat. Hi Ivan, how are you? And here is Han Ji Sung in the chat. Next name is Oishi in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Here is Simpot in the chat. Welcome to the live. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Here is Mehdi in the chat. Hi Mehdi. Next name is Nihir in the chat. Hello Nihir, how are you? And here I see Iran in the chat. Hi Surjit, thank you Surjit for joining the live. Okay everyone, I'm checking last 5 names, then I will end the live. I'm checking last 5 names, then I will end the live. Okay, next name is, I'm checking last 5 names, then I will end the live guys. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Here is Alita. It's Fiora. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Have a great lovely day to you. And here is Ajay in the chat. Hello Ajay, how are you? And here is Inaya. How are you Inaya? Thank you so much. And here is Irmak in the chat. Hello Irmak, how are you? And I see Rafila in the chat. Hi Rafila, how are you? Welcome to the live. Next name is Jadib in the chat. Hi Jadib, how are you? And here is Amir in the chat. Hello Amir. And here is Alice in the chat. Hello, welcome to the live. Okay, everyone, I am going to end the live. Hello, Arfa. And whose name I did not write it yet? Please tell me whose name I missed it. Thank you, Richie, for in the live. And here is Hadra in the chat. Hello, Hadra. Okay, I am going to end the live. I will take last 5 names. Then I will end the live, everyone. I will take last 5 names. And then I will end the live. Here I'm starting now. 5, 4, 3, 2, and the last name is, who's here in the last? Here is Lee Ming Chon. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining in the live. Thanks for watching. See you in the next live, guys. Bye everyone. Bye. Okay, some other join the live. I will write some others name. Then I will end the live. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining in the live. Akila, who's watched their name first, tell me. I will get your name and then I will end the live. Hello Harper. And here is Jasmine. And next name is here. Akila. Next name is already in the chat. And here is Sin. Hi Sin. How are you? Thank you so much. Next name is Bill in the chat. Okay. Next name is Audrey in the chat. Hello Audrey, how are you? And here is Amara in the chat. Hi Amara. And here is Laura Raj in the chat. Hello Laura Raj, how are you? And here is Iman in the chat. Hello Iman, how are you? Nicole, thank you so much Nicole. Have a great lovely day to you. Okay, now I am going to end the live.